Hey guys, welcome back. This is week 28 Project Life, and I'm going to do something a tiny bit different today. I didn't know what to work with, so I'm just going to work with the few bits and pieces that are sitting on my desk. You can see I had a little container full of 4x6 cards from a pocket letter. I've got some enamel dots. There's a bunch of 3x4 cards sitting out on my desk left over from another project. There's a pile of Kelly stamps I haven't put away. I figured I've got tons of stuff sitting out here. I don't need to go digging through my stash. Let's just use what I got. So I've started with my photos, and these are the 3x4 cards that I was talking about. They were for a fairly specific project about a weekend, so there's not a huge selection, and they are all very weekend based, but I still have enough to use. And these 4x6 cards came from a pocket letter from my lovely friend Lynette. They've just been sitting there. I'm finally going to use some of them, definitely not all of them, because there are a ton there. And I'm just going to play around a little bit. Obviously, my photos are a little bit they're kind of colourful, but they're quite busy, all over the place. There's not really any specific theme here, so it takes me a little bit, but I kind of start with this. I had a Sunday, that craft paper coloured Sunday envelope thing, and I thought I might use one of the 3x4 journaling cards as like a little tag to slip in there. I didn't actually love the craft colored thing though, so I removed that. I'm still going to use that story card as the tag, but it didn't stand out on that white sort of wood grain paper I had already picked out. So instead I went with a deeper kind of corally, it's almost red, and that's where I'm basing my theme from. So all of the other 3x4 cards, well the whole two of them, I've kind of shuffled around so they're a little bit on the lighter side. I don't want to go too heavy with color or pattern. And for my title card I've picked, it's a very similar texture to this red card, but it is a much lighter coloured pink, sort of peachy colour. So to create this little slip-in tag here, I am just going to use some tape. I'm going to tape around 3 sides of my photo. Very conveniently, the photo was the right size to fit this 3x4 tag in it. So I've just taped around all 3 sides, and when I stick that down, it gives me a slot to slip this 3x4 card in. And all I've done to the corners there is I just snipped off one corner with a pair of scissors. I didn't measure anything, just eyeballed it. And then the piece that I had cut off, I held up to the other corner of the card so I could trim that off and it would be the same. So even though I eyeballed it, they are both exactly the same on the corners. Now this is, kind of a cheat. There's 2 cheats in this video. This embroidery thread was not on my desk. It is on a cart that is beside my desk, if that counts. I just wanted something to kind of, I guess, illustrate that this is like a pull-out tag. So by having the thread on there, it does kind of show that it comes in and out. So I'll do my journaling on that card later on. I'll just run that through the typewriter. It's nothing earth-shattering, which is why I don't mind that it's in a slip-in tag inside a pocket, and the chances of it ever being pulled out are probably slim. It is there if I want to, though. Now this is one of those Kelly stamp sets that was sitting on my desk. It's the Seasons set. I think that was from the June release. So I've got my June and July stamps sitting there. I finished doing my design team projects. They just sit on my desk while I'm working on those. And now they're ready to go back into my stamp stash. So I've just stacked a couple of those sentiments and stamped them straight onto the photo using my Moonlight white ink. I love how that looks. I've got this diagonal card here. It's got this diagonal color on it, and I just wasn't sure where I wanted to put the colored side, and in the end I flipped it so that it goes up to the top. And the other 3x4 card just has this really very small yellow stripe on it. The other side is like full yellow, but I just liked the white a little bit more on there just to give a bit more breathing room to what is going to be quite a busy spread. I stamped on my other 3x4 photo, and so I'm going to stamp on this 3x4 photo as well. This is from the Shenanigans set, and this time I'm just stamping with black ink. This is like a little version of my Memento Tuxedo black ink, but that ink pad is definitely a lot drier than my full-size one, and so the stamping that I'm doing isn't super great. So I think it might be time for me to retire that little stamp so I can just carry on using my full-size one. Now I decided that since I created that 3x4 tag to go into the pocket there, I would repeat that kind of shape, and it would make it look a little bit less kind of random just having this tag sitting there. So I'm gonna use that white kind of wood grained 4x6 card. I've just trimmed down a little strip of that wide enough to stamp the stamp that I want to stamp on there. And again, I'm just eyeballing the corners, then lining up the other one. I'm punching a little hole. This time though, I went and grabbed another embroidery floss that was sitting there. It's sort of a darker red rather than that very pale pink. The pale pink looked fine when I was working on the darker peachy red coloured card, but on this very busy photo I wanted something a little bit more stand-outy, so I grabbed this very bright pink and just tied. I didn't tie a bow this time, I just sort of threaded it on, tied a little knot at the end so it looks like a shipping tag. Now I'm going to keep it real simple, and I'm just stamping the stamp onto the tag. I didn't trim it down because I didn't know how large or how much room I actually wanted it to take up, where I was even going to put it. I decided to put it on the left here, and so I didn't need a whole lot of room, so I'm just going to add the adhesive and stick it where I want it and then trim the rest off, and that way I'm not cutting myself too short. Now I figured I've done that once, I may well as do it again. So I've got a bit of space down here on this photo of Lil, and I'm going to do the exact same process. So I'm just snipping off the corners. I probably would have used the first one as a template, but I've already stuck it down, so I'm just winging it, doing both corners, and I'm going to use that same bright red thread again just to keep things a little bit consistent. This is a kind of busier photo, and so it does need something a little bit brighter to help it kind of stand off the page. So I just fold my thread in half, push the folded end through the front of the paper, and then slip that over the top of the threads, and then I can tie the loose ends together. Now I need a stamp to go on here as well, and I'm going to use another one from the Shenanigans stamp set, crazy for this. And again, the tag's a little bit large for this stamp, and I will remedy that in the end, you'll see. I go from this pretty, so far everything's pretty simple, and I kind of like it, you know me, I love things a little bit simple, but it almost felt too simple because I didn't have a lot of embellishments or anything kind of sticking on my desk. I've really only got like journaling cards and stamps, and it feels a little bit blah. So I've got these labels. These were a printable that I did on my Patreon page. I trimmed them all out even though I didn't use them all at the time, and I've just been sitting in this little jar, so I've barely made a dent in them at all. So here I'm going to use two, and I'm just going to use like a recipe, I guess, for these two smaller photos. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on both of them. I'm just picking out labels that I wanted to use. I really wanted to use the same labels. There's two different versions in there, one with sort of square corners and one with diagonal corners. I really wanted to use a kind of tealy colored one on this photo, and the only one I had left was square corners, so I did want to use those diagonal corners so that they would kind of tie in with the diagonals on the tags. But in the end, I've gone for the straight ones so that I can use the color that I want. So I'm just sticking them down in the same place. Then my camera cut out. So I'm back, and I'm just going to stamp a couple of stamps onto the labels. Again, very simple. So this little set was a little freebie that world events made kind of irrelevant. So the International Stamp Day 2020 stamp set, I'm going to use the Maker's Gonna Make stamp on the photo of my galley stamps finally arriving. Bit meta, isn't it, using my stamps on the photo of my stamps. But there's also this little scissor icon, which I thought was really cute for the photo of me finally getting a haircut. So I've stamped a bring it on stamp and then my little scissor on the other side. Now I have left my kind of title card till last. I'm feeling, at this point I was feeling a little bit blah about the whole spread. And so I decided to do something a little bit different for my title card, and one of these 4x6 had this pretty kind of white frame around it. I still wanted to use that peachy colored paper, and this one had a sentiment on it that it didn't really work for a title card. So I decided to sort of trim out the inside. I just used a craft knife here to do that. And so I'm going to use that as a frame on my title card, which I really liked, except it looked like it belonged on a different spread. It just was a little bit sort of, I don't know what the word is, less simple. It kind of looked a bit fancy. It's got this kind of shabby chic kind of frame on it, and it just does not go with anything else on the spread. So here's my second cheat. I went and grabbed my, is it a Maggie Holmes? I think it's Maggie Holmes rather than crepe paper, sticker book. And I'm just going to add a few of these little stickers around the rest of my spread to help kind of tie in my title card so things get a little bit busier from here. I'm going to kind of work on the spread as a whole, with an emphasis on trying to finish this title card at the same time. So in the end, it ends up being quite a different spread than where it had started, but I really like how it turns out. So it was fun to add a little bit of decoration with some of these stickers. It is all still super flat. These stickers are really thin, so the only thing I struggle with these sticker books is they take forever to go through. There's so many pages in here. There's so many different stickers. I started with that little camera, and because these stickers are really thin, they're pretty hard to remove. So once you've committed to them, they're down. So I really lightly put that camera there, which is lucky because I will end up changing it. The ones that I sort of know what I'm going to do, I don't worry too much about it. I don't want to overthink this because I am going to add a lot of stickers on here. But I'm just flicking through each page and, like I said, kind of working as a whole. I've got my title card down here to work on, but as I'm flicking through these pages, I'm pulling out the stickers that I like as I go. So this is a good example. It was like a big square rectangle kind of sticker. I just tore the top off it and added it underneath my stamped piece, and I really like how it kind of adds to that stack of stamps. And so I decided that's what I would do. I would just keep adding stickers as I found them. This one says guilty pleasure, and then I'm adding happy heart as it was. Gorgeous cocktail, so yum. And I like just working on the spread as a whole, but I am going back to this title card. These ones, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious about what I'm sticking down because I haven't really worked out what exactly I'm going to do with my title card yet. I do love this sticker book because it does have a bunch of apart from the icons and the animals and the cameras, there's heaps of basics in here too. So there's lots of gold foil, there's labels, billions of tiny little words, and so those are kind of more the ones that I end up pulling out. I'm going to add one of these little banner stickers under that stamped piece that kind of fills out the tag that was a little bit too big for that stamp. It kind of makes a bit more sense when it's got a sticker underneath it as well. And basically I'm just going to keep going through looking for ones to use. So this is probably super boring to watch. It did take me a long time in real life to even do it, so I'm going to speed this up a tiny bit. Basically my idea at this point for the title card is to create this little cluster on the top right, which is something I don't often do. I realize it's not often my clusters up there, so I've just layered a few things. Some of those stickers are kind of transparent. I do go back here and change this camera to a different camera. It's still a camera, but a different kind. The first one I had originally put on was pretty different in style to all of the other stickers that I've used, so I just made that really simple swap, and then I've added a couple of other tiny word stickers, and I kind of feel like I'm done with the stickers, so I can go ahead and I'm going to stamp out my title using the Kings Park Alpha. This is a much older one from Kelly Stamps, one of my favorites, so it's always sitting on my desk here, and I'm using this peachy colored ink. This is a chalk ink, so it's a little bit different to what I normally use, but I love the colors, worked really nicely with all of the colors that I've ended up using this week. All of the colors, so many of them. And I'm just adding my date stamp onto the label here. The stickers are great in this book because they are very matte. Like I said, the paper's super thin, but it does mean it's really easy to stamp on them. Now, as always, the last few weeks I've been using a ton of these. I've got my Citrus Twist enamel dots out, my second sheet that I've almost finished, and so I'm going to add a few of those here too. I realized I hadn't added any stickers onto this top photo, and so I just added a little bow, but then I didn't love the way the two bows sat beside each other, so I'm just going to move one down, and it kind of makes one whole cluster at the top, and I like how that works. So I am working on both of those cards in one time just to get them balanced. They will sit next to each other in the pockets, so they need to work together. So I'm going to sprinkle a couple more enamel dots onto these bottom 4x6 cards, and then call the spread all done. Is your desk always clean like mine, or do you always have a lot of stuff sitting on here that you could do a spread like this? I really enjoyed working with things that I had on my desk, so maybe I shouldn't clean things up as often as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys!